What's going on, guys? Jason here, Morph, Mixology, Reptiles. Welcome back to the channel and to the live stream. I'm so excited that actually worked. Herbert and I, HP Reptiles, we've been trying to get something together since last week because last week's was definitely thrown together last minute. But yeah, I'm super excited that worked. So that big thank you to Herbert at HP Reptiles for supporting the channel and the open mics. So there you go. Like always, we've got all these guys in here hours ahead of time. It's crazy. Apparently, according to Herbert, the comments die off after 2 hours. So that seems to be the limit to get in here ahead of everybody. But looks like we've got a good turnout. People are starting to roll in. I'm just going to jump right into it because this guy needs no introduction, and I don't need to waste any more of his time of me just babbling on. So more importantly, let's go ahead and bring in freaking Brian Barczyk. What's going on, man?
What's up, dude? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm sure I'm not as tired and beat as you are at this point.
Yeah, you know, it's just the way it is, man. That's my life, and I've learned to live, you know, on not enough sleep and too much going on. You know, it's funny. I always say that every time I think that I can't add more to my life, I find a way to somehow add more to my life. And so I am the only one to blame for my insane schedule, but I just am a glutton for punishment, I presume.
Yeah. No, you know, it's funny because you and I had talked earlier today about it, and I had been watching your stories. I was actually watching your vlog when I was talking to you. I was watching your stories on Instagram. I'm like, man, this dude doesn't stop. Like, and we only get that, you know, 15 to 20 minute like sound bite of your life. And it seems Instagram actually seems to open that up a little bit more if you watch the stories. It's kind of like throughout the day, all the stuff you guys are doing. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I know it's wild. You know, I mean, again, you know, I always tell people I don't complain because this is my, you know, my own choice to do the things that I do. And you know, I obviously, you know, always want to aspire to do things that are, you know, amazing, to follow my dreams and stuff like that. But yeah, no, people don't. I don't think most people understand the amount of crazy that my life is. I mean, like, I'm not kidding you. It's most people, even when someone comes visit me, and hopefully sometime you can come out here and hang out. I know we talked about that in the past. Usually people spend like 3 or 4 days with me. They'll say that. They'll be like, I literally don't know how you survive. I've even had like really successful business. I'm talking like people that are way more successful than I'll ever be, you know, people that are worth, you know, $50 million, I think. And they've come and hung out with me for a few days, and they've even said it like, I thought I worked hard until I met you. And they're like, I've never seen anyone like you before. And you know, I guess that's a good thing. You know, I mean, I'm proud of the fact that I have the ethic that I have as far as working, but it's the only problem I think, you know, Jason, is that I'm trying to find more balance in my life these days. You know, it's been hard to do that, you know, but it's something I'm working towards because I don't think it's healthy to work 7 days a week from morning till night, you know, like with ever taking a break. And so I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it. And it's this weird dichotomy because part of me wants to start that, you know, that balance where I can like start taking some more time in life and stuff like that. But then on the flip side, I have like 5 or 6 more projects that are starting to get added on in this 2021, hopefully, new business ventures that I'm doing. So, and what I've been trying to do is like get into things that don't take as much time, as much sweat equity, but they're still going to take time, right? Every time you launch a business, you're going to have to spend time with it. And again, I'm a glutton. I don't know what my problem is. I got to somehow figure out one day to say no to everything.
Yeah, and you know, at some point, I've learned this by being around, especially with what my dad's a private pilot, a corporate pilot, flies private jets. And growing up around him, I was in the airplane all the time. And so that put me around some very powerful, very influential, very successful people at a young age, you know. And one of the things I started to notice was with all of these super uber successful entrepreneurs, and that is at some point they have to recognize that they need to step back and actually enjoy all of the time and energy that they've worked for. You know,
Yeah,
and I know you are following your zoo dream. You're literally living every kid's dream to own a zoo of their own and whatnot. So it's not like you're having to go to a 9 to 5 and push papers around a desk and, you know, just to support your hobby. But at what point do you just kick back and enjoy the fruits of your labor?
You know, it's tough, and that's the dilemma, really. I mean, although I'm involved in other business ventures that aren't as exciting as, say, the Reptarium, but most of what I do, whether you know it's YouTube and social media, which I enjoy a tremendous amount. Obviously, the Reptarium is where my love and heart is beyond belief. BHB still is something that I really enjoy a tremendous amount. You know, that's the hard part, right? It's like the things I do, I love doing. You know, it's like this is what I would do if I was like doing it on the weekend. You know, if I had a regular job, this would be my hobby. So it does make it hard to go like when do you step back and enjoy? Because in a way, I am enjoying it by doing it. That being said, the only downside is the pressure that gets put on the daily basis. You know, I always talk about time urgency, right? You know, time urgency is probably the thing that I struggle with the very most because everything in my life is time urgent, and my days are scheduled so radical that like literally from I wake up. I will say I've now I've chronicled my battles with anxiety over the last 8 to 10 months pretty heavily. You know, so now when I wake up, I just spend like about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the day, meditating before I do anything. But as soon as I'm done with that, from that moment on until I go to bed, I'm pretty much scheduled, you know. So I take 10, 15 minutes of my day for me to meditate. And then I literally am like, I mean, there's no other time other than that. So, but again, I get to do things that are amazing. I get to work with animals that are amazing. I get to meet people. You know, it's listen, no one feels sorry for me, you know, and I don't feel sorry for me either. I live a great life, like you said. It's like the dream. Um, and I've said this, Jason, that I've never been more, even though I've dealt with anxiety and mental health over the last 10 months. I've never been happier than where I am right now on all levels. You know, from a family standpoint, a crew standpoint, a business standpoint, a financial standpoint, accomplishment standpoint. Doesn't mean that I guess this is the problem, right? Is that uh, for some reason I don't want to settle for that where I'm at. I want to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I'm so driven to that sometimes I don't realize that I've got it. There are limits. And you know, like listen, I'm not even kidding you, dude. I bet you if I'm awake 16, 17 hours a day, uh, 90% of the time I'm thinking about expanding the Reptarium. I mean, it's like that's all I think about. I think about like all of the enclosures and how I'm going to build it and what the process is, and I just am obsessed over it, you know, um, and hopefully God
It's
willing,
almost like you
never.
got to get your fix. Like,
Yeah, I think it is. This is like an addiction, you know. And I've told people, listen, I've told people all the time, I'm an addict, right? I'm an addict. If I did drugs, I'd be a drug addict. If I drank alcohol, I'd be an alcoholic. Um, I'm an addict, you know, and I just choose not to drink and do drugs and do bad things. But I'm addicted to work. I'm addicted to achieving things. I'm addicted to building things. You know, if I'm not building the Reptarium, I mean, I just redid our master bathroom in our house, and you know, I mean, it's just like crazy stuff like that. Like I'm like, oh, it's time to build something else. It's time to do this. It's time, you know. So I'm there's always a build project in my life, always, like
I
every
get
day.
that. I get that. I have the same problem. You know, I've been obviously all of the stuff around me I built. I built the room I'm sitting in. You know, I've done a lot to this house and that. And I sit here sometimes on the weekends, like I'm waiting for parts. Like I just finished my incubator today so that I could get it going because I'm 30 days out from eggs,
Nice.
and I was waiting for heat tape to get here. And I'm sitting here on the weekend like like I don't know what to do with myself. I need to be doing. I have this feeling I need to be doing something. Like let's go find some project. Let's go find something to build. Oh, it's 5 degrees outside and snowing, so that's not going to happen. Like it's tough.
It's a sickness, and I'm trying to find that balance in life where I can relax and not feel like I should be doing something else. And it's a tough thing, but I think that's important. Uh, but at the same time, I don't want to lose the edge that I have. That really heavy work ethic and the ability to do things. I mean, since I was young, I've been very, very blessed to be able to just do a lot, you know what I mean? Like more than most people, I mean, of course you got Jay, my camera guy, and I can honestly say he's the only guy that I've ever been around at all that keeps my pace. Like most people that are around me can't keep my pace at all. Within a week or so, they're completely. I mean, I remember spending some time with my friend Savannah down at Gatorland, and we went like on a 4-day trip around, like filming and doing all stuff, and and it was funny because obviously we stayed in different hotel rooms, but she would go to sleep and I would stay up and edit, because I still had to edit the vlog. And so I would edit for 2.5 hours, and then we wake up and we do it all over. And I think we were on it for like 4 or 5 days, and we got back to Orlando. I dropped her off, and she literally was like, Brian, I think I'm going to die. She's like, I can't keep my eyes open. I need to go to sleep. And I literally dropped her off and then drove 20 hours home by myself. And I talked to her a few days later, and she was like, I slept literally for 2 days straight. I didn't even get out of bed. And I'm like, this is my life every day. It's like it doesn't ever stop. It's like, I always joked around with Jay when he first started with me, because I told him it was going to be an adjustment, and I kind of likened back to that. I don't know if you've seen Men in Black, the original Men in Black movie.
Yeah.
When he basically says, hey, we're on the, whatever galactic time schedule or whatever, he's like 36 hours a day. He goes, you'll either adjust to it in 7 days or you'll have an emotional breakdown. That's what I told Jay. I said, you're going to either adjust to my schedule or you're going to have an emotional breakdown. And I remember him telling me probably 2 weeks in that he was just starting to get the hang of being around me and keeping the schedule that we keep. And he said that. He goes, Brian, I was like 7, 8 days in thinking there's no way I can keep this up, and now he's been with me for, 2 years or whatever, year and a half. And he's a trooper, man. He keeps up with me every day. He always, whatever. I'm like, hey, we got to stay late tonight because we got to do it. It's like, all right, let's do it, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And there's no doubt that he's insanely talented at what he does too. Mm-hmm. I see some of the pictures he takes, some of the edits he does. I mean, even watching him here helping run my camera gear when you and I did the ultrasound video, I was like, man, this dude he doesn't stop, and he knows exactly where to be. He knows watching him interact with you while you were doing your video here was amazing. Cause that's something I've always been kind of curious about when you do your daily vlog, and that is how do you go about your day-to-day routine and decide today's going to be an expose on chameleons, or today's going to be a feeding day, or today we need to clean Ivy's cage or whatever. And then there's like 6 camera angles of you walking in the front of the reptarium, and Jay's like underwater, and like, I just like, so watching him even in a stationary, almost like a one take shot we did here was insane. Like because it's almost like you guys are telepathically connected. He knows what you're thinking and looking for.
We talk about it all the time. And that took a little time to get to that point. I mean, you spend 14 hours a day with someone 7 days a week, and you get pretty connected pretty quickly. I always say, he spends more time with me than anyone else on the planet, even more than my family. And so, but yeah, we got to a point now, and certainly it didn't take that long. I mean, it took maybe a couple months to get to that point. But we think so much alike. I mean, he always knows what I'm thinking. He always knows where I'm going, my move before I make my move. So, and that's what it is. Like, I mean, we spend, every morning we, get together and we have a little powwow about what we're going to do, like what I have to do for the day. I mean, I have my chores, and I have to, whether it's feed or switch males around or ultrasound or whatever the case may be. So we talk about, is it worthy of filming, or do we want to film something completely separate? And then we decide, okay, well, maybe I'm going to spend an hour and a half doing this and we don't even want to film it because it's boring or whatever the case is. So then he'll, go start editing or doing whatever he's going to do. And then as soon as I'm done with that, we jump into what the topic is. And he always helps me with the topic. But I probably come up with, 95% of the ideas that we film. And then he kind of helps me with sourcing them out and thinking about them and what's the best way to kind of do it, and together we're both really, as I always tell people, as passionate as I am about animals, I'm also equally as passionate about about cameras and filming and editing and telling a story. I love it. I really do, and I want to, shoot the most amazing footage that we possibly can. And so it's nice to be with someone not only that wants the same as I want, but also, and by the way, that my dog might start barking here in a minute because someone's pulling up, but oh, that might be all right. But I've got a German Shepherd that loves to bark whenever someone pulls around. I live on a cul-de-sac, so everyone's pulling in. He's like, he goes crazy. So, but Lori will be pulling up here pretty soon, so expect the barking. But nevertheless, like I said, he's a great guy and a great asset, and he's one of my dearest friends too. Now I love him like a brother. So, I'm very blessed because it was hard. The first 2.5, almost 3 years of the vlog, I was a one-man team. I did all my filming, all my editing, everything. Didn't have any helping at all. And that just couldn't happen now. I'm too busy of a person to add that to my plate.
Yeah. So on average, about how far ahead are you guys in the vlog? So if I watch tomorrow's vlog, where roughly was that?
So it's interesting. It depends. It does fluctuate, right?
Okay.
Like obviously when we were on our trip and we visited you, I think we were 2 or 3 days out because we wanted to make sure that we always had a buffer for when we might not have Wi-Fi, may not be able to
Yep.
upload. We're on the road, stuff like that. When we're home and nothing is going on, the normal thing would be it's Saturday. We film Saturday. Uh, uh, Jay edits Sunday, and we upload Monday. That's the normal thing,
Okay.
right? Every now and then, um, if we get the opportunity to film a day or two extra, like let's say I've got some cool snakes to unbox. I've got 3 stories that are really awesome today, and that happens sometimes. Sometimes you'll just be like, oh my God, we got 3 really great individual stories. Let's film all 3 of them, and then we'll be 3 days out. And then that gives us an opportunity to maybe do it like a project one day and not have to film it and stuff like that. So I think right now I think we're 2 or 3 days out. But we'll probably burn one of those days on this coming Tuesday, because we want to finish the podcast, or not the podcast, but the green room area now. And we've got some work to do. That just, you can only film so much before you like, hey, I'm not watching your vlog for a building vlog, a construction
Yeah.
vlog. And we'll probably be by next week. We'll probably be back to that schedule where it's film one day, edit the next day, upload the following day. So essentially a day and a half, 2 days out.
Is there some points where in a vlog, because it's fun sometimes to watch your vlogs and try to count how many different t-shirts you have in the same video.
Yeah.
But I mean, all the different wardrobe changes, but is there times where there are clips within a certain day's vlog that are actually from a different day?
Absolutely, there is. Although I do change shirts quite a bit, to be totally honest with you. With that being said, there are days that, yeah, we might. What happens? So normally, in a normal case, we film one vlog a day. We very seldom film more than one vlog a day. But what ends up happening is sometimes, we want to keep the vlogs. We never want them to be less than 12 minutes. We really want them to be between 13 and 15 minutes. Every now and then, we'll drop a 20-minute vlog. I think the other day we did a 23-minute vlog. But really, 12 to 15 minutes is our wheelhouse. 13 to 15 is even better. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. It's about AVDs, average root durations and so on like that. Where really the wheelhouse you want to be at is 6 to 9 minutes worth of actual watch time on a video, which means that if your AVD or average user duration is say 50 to 60%, which is above average because most AVDs are about 40% or less. So if you're at say 50% even, If you have a 13-minute video, you're going to be at about 6.5 minutes, which is right in that 6 to 9 minute wheel where you want to be for YouTube's algorithm. So we really want 13 to 15 minutes. But what ends up happening is every now and then we'll film the day. We get into an edit and we're at 16 minutes and we still have more segments that didn't go in the video. So then what we'll do is we'll sit down the next morning and say, hey, do these 2 segments fit in? And let's try to use them. Every now and then we just burn them and we just don't use them. They just, okay, well, that was cool. But, it depends how cool it is. If it was like something that was like, oh, I really want to use this, then we throw it in. If it's something that is like, it was all right, then we just say, let's just scrap it. And it just never makes it into the vlog. But it just depends. But yeah, I do a lot of change. It's kind of an irony that more people don't realize how often I change my shirt. Because hardly anyone mentions it, and I say on a normal day, I usually have 3 shirts, on a normal day.
I key into it anyway, but it's just top of mind right now because the video I'm finishing for this incubator build was over 4 days of shooting. So there's 4 different wardrobes, 4 different hairstyles, 4 different color of earrings. Like, so it's all screwed up because I wasn't able to, because they typically come in and everything I do is generally unplanned and unscripted, but I'll set the camera up and I'll be in here for 30 minutes and one take or 2 and be done. But I was waiting for parts and I had to get stuff built and that kind of thing. So it's drug out for a week. And so I just had that thought. I'm like, this is going to be, I'm going to look just like Brian. I'm going to have 3 or 4 different shirts in his videos.
And the thing that's funny is I don't really sweat. So it's not like I'm changing shirts because I sweat them out or something like that. It's always the ongoing joke that I don't sweat. Everyone's like, don't you ever sweat? Because I'll be like 100 degrees and I'm like not even sweating. And I just change shirts a lot. But every now and then the thing that I'll really see is like, if I use a clip where I'm like real scruffy one day and then I shave. I never shave clean, but I'll like shave down. And I'll be like really scruffy one day and then the next day, and it's in the same video. And sometimes you'll go from like more clean shaved to scruffy to more clean shaved again. And I'm like, I can't believe people didn't recognize that or notice that. But hardly anyone ever mentions it, which is weird. But it's funny, when we were like, let's say filming Venom Hunters for Discovery Channel, they actually just wear the same clothes every day. Not not the same clothes, but the same color, the same shirt. So I had like
for continuity throughout the episode.
For continuity, that way they could mix in whatever they want, whenever they want. So I had like 15 of the same blue shirt for the entire series. And that's it was kind of a weird thing. I know, I remember my producer didn't like it. He understood the continuity, but he didn't like it because he's like, come on, how many people go 2 weeks in the same clothes? You know what I mean? Like, everyone changes, But I do notice that in quite a bit of produced shows for television where, they just wear the same clothes all the time, and it's literally just for continuity. Whereas I don't care in the vlog, and I actually think it's kind of funny. As a matter of fact, there was a period of time, maybe 3 years ago, that I had a little stuffed animal that I used to put behind me all the time.
It was like an Easter egg.
And nobody ever, not one person ever talked about it, ever. No one ever figured it out. And I used to, and it was almost a bummer for me because I went through a lot of effort to place him all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, wouldn't think someone would be like, well, have you noticed there's that little area? But it's, it's always fun. You got to keep yourself entertained when you're doing it every day. There's no doubt about it.
Well, now and for me, I keep trying to spot the Drogo sign in the back of the shot occasionally as you walk. That's what I keep looking for. So
I love it. People love it.
It looks perfect there too.
It's perfect. Yeah. Originally we had it up top, and you didn't almost even see it. To be totally honest with you. And then we were trying to think, do we put it in the window? But then we didn't want to block some window. And Jay actually, not camera guy Jay, but what we call Jay, entertainer Jay is what we call him.
Drogo
Jay, we call him entertainer, or Jay the entertainer is what we call him. But because he's such an entertaining guy, but he's the one that came up with the spot to put it on the door, and I was like, I love it, man. And we get compliments every single day.
No, it looks great there. Got a super chat here from Max. Says, Brian, Jay, and the whole crew inspire me on a daily basis. My wife and I watch the vlog together every morning, and it starts off our day in the best way.
Well, Mac is actually a mod on my podcast. So, Mac, thanks for coming over and checking this
out, cool.
brother. He just spent
Yeah,
over 2 hours on my podcast just here an hour and a half ago.
I was just gonna say I recognize a couple of these names in here from your side. Potterhead's in here.
Oh yeah. She's great. Jerica's great.
Yeah, there's a couple in here I recognize from your side. So
Yeah, they're great people. We're really blessed to have obviously both of those guys are mods on my my podcast, but also just all the people that support us every day is just so incredible. I mean, it was wild. I mean, people really came out today. Today was a very heartwarming day for the podcast for sure.
Mike Janikowski, it's farther up, so I can't grab it. But Mike Janikowski from Ball Python Boulevard asked how many employees you guys are up to at this point.
You know, it's really interesting. It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I think we're probably at 16 or 17 employees right now. I'll be honest with you. I'm not like one that. So I think that sometimes businesses will, like brag on like how many people they have working for them. Like like they'll be like, oh, I have friends that have businesses that are like, yeah, I had 60 employees and I just broke 100. I'm not. I'm almost the opposite. I almost think like the less you have, the better. You know what I mean? As far as like, because you want people that you can really rely on, number one, and be a part of the family, but also, you don't want that overhead. You don't want tons of overhead. But I will say the reason we have more employees than we probably have had in the last few years is there's new positions now that didn't have, like Jay the Entertainer is our animal educator. We didn't have an animal educator last year. We have people now that work on just booking reptarium stuff, on and on and on. And I will say that, and this is no disrespect to anyone that's ever worked for me in the past. This is, I have some. So I think we have one or two people that work for us that may not work for us in the future because they're going to school and they're going to graduate. They're going to get some other job or something like that. But the vast majority, I'd say 12 of the 15, 16 people we have right now are like, I think are lifers. Like they'll be with us forever. I mean, and I'll do everything I can do to keep them there by paying them whatever I have to pay them, giving them benefits that I have to give them, and just continue to make their job as best as they possibly can. And now, by the way, Lori is pulling up. Just hopefully Zeus won't bark, but if he does,
That's all right.
But there it goes. On cue.
Right on command. There you go.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think we're up there, and we actually, just to finish up that thought, I was going to tell you that me and Jay and I were literally talking tonight about maybe doing like an employee spotlight thing where we just introduce, because there are people that work for me that have never literally been on the blog at all. They don't really want to be on the blog, and they're just they just work, and I'd really like to at least introduce them. That way, when people see someone in the background, like, who's that? At least someone will know.
I see a lot of people recently commenting in your videos asking about Bruce. Is Bruce still around, or is he part-time, or how's that work? Because we see Jessica a lot. We see, and we used to see Bruce all the time, and I know it's a lot like the animals that you highlight. You can't get to everybody in every vlog and that, but I've seen a lot of people asking about him.
Yeah, no, Bruce is there. He's there. He was there tonight. So he's still with us full-time, 40 plus hours a week, working with the animals. And it's just, that's, I think, what it is. It's like if there's a story that is interesting that Bruce can tell, then we have Bruce on. He will be in a couple videos in the next couple days, actually. Some segments we shot out. But I think the hardest part with Bruce is that the stories that are interesting are the same stories over and over and over again. I'm working with Baby Kush. I'm working with Beetlejuice. I'm working with this animal. And so it's like we've already told it so many times that, like, how can you tell it again? Every now and then we'll give an update, and that's what we did, like Baby Kush one that's coming up. Because it's like we're making progress with the croc monitor, so we wanted to do a little update. But other than that, it's like that's what he does, and just like so many animal people understand that it's very mundane, right? I mean, like most of your job is just cleaning waters, cleaning cages, feeding stuff, and so we try to tell a story over and over again as differently as we can, but we don't always succeed. But no, he's still around.
Tell Tell Lori, by the way, she's got to be on this at some point. I want to know what this looks like from her perspective when you're not sitting there.
Lori, when you get a chance, just when you settle in, come and say hi to everybody, okay? She said, okay, she'll come over in a bit. So let her settle in.
Headhunter Exotics wanted to know, are you planning on or do you release any single gene lories?
That the Lori project's really blowing up, which I'm really happy about because it was a project I think I slept on for far too long, and now it's starting to make some production that's really, really incredible. So I think we might have some single gene stuff available this coming year. I mean, in 2021. We're breeding a bunch of different Lori stuff right now, and we have some stuff that's getting into advanced follicle growth right now. So yeah, I think we will. And like I said, they seem to be really sought after right now because I think people finally started to realize, wow, that's a neat project, what it can do. And like I said, I've only just scratched the surface, and I haven't even showed a lot of the stuff that I have that is really truly breathtaking. And it's not because I'm hiding it or anything like that. I just don't show everything I have. As a matter of fact, every now and then, I think the other day I was walking around, and by no means is my collection like Miguel's or Billy's or Justin Cabelica's or anything like that. But we have a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Probably more than most people realize that we have. I was walking around the other day, and just even clown stuff, which I always say like clowns are the pinnacle recessive mutation right now. Not the pinnacle because obviously there's puzzles and all of these other things, but I'm saying that people really like clowns. And I was surprised at how much clown stuff I had the other day. Like I said, I was just kind of doing a mental inventory. I was walking around like, holy cow, I got a lot of clown stuff. And so I think it's because I don't want to be in the game anymore. Like I'm not in the ball game, per se. I just do it for fun, and I enjoy the projects I enjoy, and I don't really promote much in the way of projects because they're all just kind of like just fun for me right now. And but we have some cool stuff. The Lori project, I'm getting so much interest. I mean, like people are constant contact. What do you have? What do you have? What do you have? And so hopefully this year we'll have some stuff that we can release. But I kept a lot. I kept the vast majority of what we produced last year in the Lori project.
I would definitely like to work it into some stuff I have too that I think it'd be fun to work with.
Okay, Lori. This is Jason.
Hello.
Hello. I'm the one that did the Drogo sign and sent you the wine and whatnot from Yellowstone.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, it's beautiful. It looks great on the door.
I sent a super chat in a couple weeks ago to one of his live streams saying I needed you on the vlog at some point too, and you're like, I don't know who the fuck you are. What are you talking about? Like,
that's Lori for you.
Well, here I am. Hi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think the only podcast that Lori's ever done, actually, besides ours, obviously, is MJ. She was on MJ.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
God only knows. I tried to stay off it. At the very end, I popped on, but I was like, I wanted to stay off because I didn't know what you were going to say about it.
And I messaged Noah as well, but I guess I'm just buried in the thousands of messages I'm sure he gets on a regular basis. So.
Oh yeah, well I'm sure Lori, he come on for you for sure.
Yeah, and you're one of the other two B's in the triple B. We got Brian Cusco who's been in here all night too. He had some nice things to say about you earlier. So
that's nice. Yeah, I was just literally talking about right now to a couple of my friends today. So it's always good. He's always a good friend of mine.
You're kind of muffled, kind of hard to hear. I think Lori has the one with the microphone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I was just saying that I love Brian. He's a good dude, man. Like I said,
yeah,
good energy, dude, man. Just really good.
Another super chat, Spartan Reptiles. This is he's semi-local to me actually. He's a Northern Montana breeder.
Yep.
Said Brian inspired my passion for reptiles. So
so
it seems to be a reoccurring theme. I mean, the full disclosure, everybody knows at this point that for us, both my wife and I, we were deathly afraid of snakes 4 years ago, completely.
Right.
I was raised under the guise of the only good snake is a dead snake. You know, right. My dad always said growing up, the only thing they're good for is belts and boots. You know, and it's like, and then I kind of evolved from that a little bit to I was interested in what they were, but I had no desire to be. I didn't want anything to do with them. I always told my friends I like snakes behind 2 inches of bulletproof glass.
You're right.
And then, you know, we had talked about, I have a buddy of mine here in town that is a breeder and builds enclosure. He did these and whatnot. And we went to help him at a local show a few years back. And I, you know, started holding some animals. I held a 6 or 7 foot Argentine boa and, you know, a couple of things, showed my wife a pied and whatnot. And she spent most of the show holding what eventually became Kevin, the banana, the first snake that we got, you know, as a hatchling, kind of getting used to that idea because it wasn't intimidating and whatnot. And then from there, we started watching your videos, and I had watched all the snake bite stuff earlier, but we started watching, that was right on the time of your daily vlog was kicking off. And so we started watching it on a regular basis and still do. And it was more of, I guess it's like, we were receiving the information like through osmosis, like immersion therapy. I figure if I watched you handle them for 15 minutes a day, every day of the week, and rarely, if ever, get bit, and when you do, it's like not a big deal, then obviously they're not scary and dangerous. And I mean, it worked. There's 110 or so in this room now. It's insane, you know? So.
And listen, it means so much to me. It really does. And I think that's, again, why I'm so driven is to hear, you know, your story and our Reptiles and so many people that reach out to me. It inspires me to keep going harder, you know. I think that if I could reach, you know, this many people, maybe I can reach 10 times that many people and 100 times that many people, whatever it is, because really all I've ever wanted is for people to give these animals a chance, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to think about them as boots and belts. And that's been it with me my whole life, you know, and I think that's maybe what was so weird about, and still to this day a little bit, not anything like it used to be, but that was what was weird when I was painted kind of like the evil villain of the reptile world. You know, I always thought, like, what happened? Like, I mean, like, well, how did this happen? But I think that just goes with the territory, and that doesn't mean that I didn't have made mistakes in the past. I certainly have. But I think I've learned from them, and I continue to learn from those mistakes. But my point is that I'm so appreciative of all the support we get on all levels, because it's shocking to me, really. And I guess that is what inspires me to work as hard as I work, because I not only want to continue to reach more people, but I also want to make the people that support me proud, you know, and say, hey, he's doing a good thing. And like I said, I think in particular, anyone, and Brian's into the Reptarium during open hours, and anyone that would spend, you know, 5 minutes at the Reptarium during open hours would really understand how magical it is. How, you know, if the videos are probably, you know, maybe helping people get over their fears and inspire them to maybe keep reptiles. But the truth is that in person, it's a different situation, you know. I mean, it's like you see people change in minutes. You see someone come in and be like, there's no way I'm handling a snake today. There's not, and 20 minutes later, they got a 10-foot albino berm around their neck. And it's such a rewarding, that is an addiction. That really is an addiction to Steve, that. And that's why, I think that's why most of my life is kind of really leaning in that direction more than any other direction. You know, I mean, obviously I love social media. I'll always stay in social media, and I love breeding snakes. I'll always breed snakes, but my real passion is to continue to grow and expand the Reptarium and give people experiences and that they can't get anywhere else in the world. You know, it's pretty special.
I want to address this real quick before I move on and lose it. Mason's Morse said, I know retics are illegal to keep in Montana, which is true. All of the large constrictors, actually. Retics, berms, anacondas, obviously. For whatever reason, certain species of amethystine pythons, although I can have a 7-foot dumerals down here, and that's totally fine. But the question being, are super dwarves lumped into that law too? And sadly, yes. That's I've made it very widely known that I have a desire to get some super dwarves from Garrett Hartle, because I really like what he's doing. And there's something about, now that I've spent some time with the animals and kind of learning to work with them and learning to read them, and that there's something about retics, and you'll know, obviously, it's almost like they're reading your mind. Like, you can actually see them thinking. And there's just something about their personality, the way they work, the way they move, and that I really, really want. But I acknowledge I'm not cut out for, nor do I have the space to accommodate a 16, 18, 20-foot mainland retic. And so when Garrett has the ability to get some of the, morphs or some really cool looking localities or whatever down to 7, 8, 10, 12 foot at full grown size, that's manageable and safe to run, as a sole operator or whatever, I really want to do that. Problem is, there is still a law on the books for the Montana Fish and Wildlife from 2006. Like, we're talking pre-Lacey Act, overturn and whatnot, that just flat out outlaws Python reticulatus. And nothing has yet been done on a national scale, despite what Garrett knows, believes, preaches, what have you, that the superdwarf subsets, the Jampaneus, the Saputrii, the, so on and so forth, the Kiowatis, that kind of thing, are a separate subspecies. And I've tried explaining that to FWP, that, look, Python reticulatus mainland, yes, monster snakes, we can address that problem later. But Python reticulatus Jampaneus are a much smaller I have a snake here bigger than what they are capable of getting. And we just I haven't gotten USARK involved yet, and I haven't had the time to put the boots on the ground to really fight it, but I definitely want to, because if not just for my own gain to be able to have them, but it also brings the opportunity to bring those animals in, which could bring more commerce to the state. I've got friends of mine in Denver that want to come up and vend at the local shows, but they're retic breeders and they can't, and so just all of that, it's frustrating. And I know you talk all the time on your channel about these laws and these bills and stuff that get pinned to the back of a budget committee meeting for painting road signs and crap, and trying to stay on top of it.
Yeah, and it's tough because, like you said, unfortunately, they are lumped in. All reticulatus are lumped together, and I don't know if even if a taxonomist came in and say started to subspecies them out, and call them different subspecies. I still don't know that would get around the law, because they're still going to be reticulatus, right?
Yeah.
And most laws are going to go back to the species, not the subspecies.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a bummer because, yes, dwarf Burmese pythons, dwarf reticulated pythons, obviously shouldn't be lumped in with the giants because they don't get that big. And if we have a 6-foot constrictor law or an 8-foot constrictor law, it shouldn't be like, we can't keep a dwarf. But unfortunately, it's just a hard battle, because the people that make these decisions and make these laws, I don't think that they're evil people. I've said that all the time. I just think they're uneducated people. And to educate them enough to understand the difference between a dwarf and because of a insular island, as opposed to a mainland, is a very difficult thing to do. And then USARK doesn't seem. I think that USARK is a great organization. And we need them so badly, but they're just spread too thin, right? They can only fight the battles that make the most sense for them, because they don't have the budget to fight the other battles. And although, again, it makes perfect sense that a battle would be to try to have something that would have some precedence for dwarfs. The truth is, it's still just such a small number of people for them, when they're talking about the masses and what they need to fight, that I don't think they have the resources to really put behind trying to make a precedent that dwarfs should be allowed in in areas that maintenance aren't allowed. So it's an uphill battle, and I don't know how we win that battle. I don't know if we win that battle, quite frankly. And we're listen, we're going to be fighting till the end of time. To keep these animals, and right now, there's certain states that, retics and berms and rocks and anacondas can't be kept in. Soon there might be states that ball pythons can't be kept in, and that's I'd say if there's one thing that scares me more than anything about the hobby is legislation, because what ends up happening, and people, I've been involved in fighting legislation for the last 20 years. What people don't understand is it's not that they're evil people in office. They're uneducated and they're all special interests. So when you have, defenders.org, or you have HSUS, or PETA, or whatever the name is of the organization, they've got a lot of budget, right? And it's like, I remember hearing USARK say this once, that the HSUS postal budget is larger than USARK's entire budget. Just sending out postage. So they're raising hundreds of millions of dollars, and of course, a very large portion of those hundreds of millions of dollars are going to lobby state legislators. And so what ends up happening is that this person gets into office and they've gotten this really big contribution from, say, HSUS, and now they have to pay it forward. Hey, we got you in. We gave you $100,000. You're now in. Now what we want you to propose this legislation. Well, what we have to hope is, let's say, a committee of 11 people, say the Agriculture, Natural Resources Committee, or whatever the committee may be. We hope that the other 10 people on that committee are smart enough to not say, well, let's just go ahead and get behind Bernie here, and we're going to vote for him to pass this champion cause. And that's all we can really hope for. And that's the other thing we just had happen here in Michigan, right, with a law in Michigan that was proposed in the Department of Agriculture and committee. And it's like I told people, these committees in Michigan, and I'm sure it's the same in Montana, a normal bill, they might get 5 phone calls of opposition, right? So if we can pour 1,000 phone calls at them, the majority of that committee is going to say, hey, this is a hot topic. I do not want to touch it. It's not coming out of committee. Because what you want to do is you always want to kill, like when they passed out in 2006, they passed that legislation in Montana. You wanted to kill that in committee. You didn't want to kill that once it reached the floor. Because once it reaches the floor, now you've got all the senators and all the House, are voting against it. And it becomes a much more difficult thing to actually kill. When you can kill it in committee, when sometimes the committee is as low as 5 or 6 people, sometimes it's 11 people, 13 people at the most usually. You can usually influence those people just by bombarding them with phone calls, emails, and letters, and that's what we have to do.
Yeah, they're talking in the comments here too, and Herbert at HB Reptiles, he sent me a message earlier before we started about this. Said that there's a bill out right now. They're trying to ban the shipping and receiving of all live animals in the state of New York right now. That's the current one on the docket. And he sent me the link to the whole thing, and I was like, that's insane.
Well, it is insane. The only good news is usually what ends up happening, typically, not always, but typically what ends up happening is that, they may swing for the fences with a bill like that, knowing that there's very little chance of it ever passing. What you got to be more concerned about is the chipping away part, right? Because, most likely, and I'm not going to say it's impossible, definitely don't sit back and not worry about it. I mean, fight with a law like that. But there's a pretty good chance, because now you've got the aquatic people, you have the poultry people, you have the bird. It goes down the list. Small animal people,
PetSmart.
Everybody. PetSmart, and you've got tremendous amounts of money lobbying against those laws, right? Now, what the bigger question is so sometimes the powers that be, the defenders and HSUS and PETAs of the world, they'll try to throw out a law like that just to see if it sticks. If it doesn't stick, they'll figure out, they'll back it up, and maybe then go back and say, let's ban the live shipping of reptiles.
Yeah.
And they start to piece it out, right? They'll go reptiles, then they'll go fish, then they'll go birds, then they'll go small animals, and they do it small at little chunks because the little chunks you don't have the masses. You don't. Again, you don't want. Listen, the one thing they don't want the Petcos and PetSmarts to get involved in this battle because when the Petcos and PetSmarts they have so much money behind them that they usually will lose that bill, right? But when they have Jason and Brian is their opposition, they got a pretty good chance of winning, right?
Unless they're going up against Kevin, because somehow he's a bulldog in court. He's got it figured out.
Well, Kevin's a smart dude, you know. I mean, he knows his way around, and he's been able to, be involved with the lawyers for USARK and help them kind of, how to, bridge. Bob Clark has been really good for, you got to give him credit too. I mean, Lasiak would still be here if it wasn't for Bob Clark, So some of these guys are just really wily at trying to pass it. What I've always done is just try to, rally as many troops as we possibly can in a polite, mindful way and try to, make it seem like such a hot potato item that they don't want to touch it. And that's usually what happens. And my gut would feel pretty strong about that New York bill will not pass. My bigger concern would be what's the next bill that they try to pass, because that bill didn't go through. So they tested the waters didn't work out. So now let's back up. Let's try to get more nitpicky and those sort of things. So, I mean, that's, there's no doubt that the single most difficult thing that we have to deal with in the future is legislation. And some states are going to be worse than others, unfortunately, and some administrations are going to be better for that, and some administrations are going to be worse for that. And that's going to be it's going to be something that we're going to have to deal with for a long, long time. Again, if that law would have gotten out of committee in Michigan, it would have. I could still do what I do, but it would have cost me an extra $20,000 a year, and it would have prohibited me to, like, let's say, switch out baby alligators each year. Each year I get little baby alligators from Gatorland. I raise them for a year, send them back, and get babies again. That way, I don't have a dozen, 18-foot, 8 to 10-foot alligators. I wouldn't be able to do that ever again because there would have been no shipping in or out of alligators ever again in the state of Michigan. So that would have just destroyed a huge thing for the reptarium, because kids love to see these little alligators.
It sounds like Camera Guy Jay is trolling the comments too. I don't see his name, but unless he's under a different screen name for YouTube, but that's cool that he stopped by. We're coming up closer on the hour here, so I do have a couple. I don't pre-plan anything. I have no script or questions or I just like shooting from the hip and it's one of the things where, especially if a guy like you and that's been around it so long and from all angles, I would much rather just turn you loose and let you vent, So one thing I am curious about though, you mentioned the idea of, the putting these little laws out and trying to, pick away at it and whatnot. I'm going to be completely transparent here for a minute, and I'm sure I'll piss a couple of people off, but so be it. I like the way Billy puts it. It's my channel and my content, but
yeah, right.
I have, for those who don't know that are watching currently, I have Tyler Nolan on the books for 2 weeks from now or a week and a half from now, something like that. To be honest with you, Tyler and I have been talking tattoos for like 4 months. So that's really, I want to talk to him about his work and being on TV and, all that stuff. But obviously I watch his channel and whatnot too. And I'm not singling Tyler out in particular. There's plenty like him, but I have gotten a handful, albeit not a large sample size, but I have gotten a handful of flack and very upset friends of mine and whatnot, that I would take somebody like Tyler or like Chandler or whoever else that you can think of that is a relatively large presence on YouTube and social media and is otherwise well known for free handling hots. So where do you stand on that as a practice, but as a danger or a risk to all of us keepers, not just HOTS keepers?
Well, first off, I like Tyler and Chandler. They're both friends of mine, and I think it's really easy for people to point fingers. Uh, I think both Chandler and Tyler are really vocal about, hey, listen, I'm doing stupid shit, and don't do what I do. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think they say that type of stuff pretty frequently. I don't free handle venomous snakes ever. I won't do that. I do mess with venomous snakes, but I always have it in my hand and so on like that. I don't personally care what they do, to be honest with you. I think that they entertain people. I think they do bring a lot of people to loving reptiles. They think it's cool. I understand the argument. I understand the argument on both sides. I understand the argument of like, hey, when is that little kid think that now he can free handle snakes and he gets bit and gets hurt? I get that. I totally get it. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine yesterday got bit by a cobra, who I'm sure emulated those guys to some extent. Not just those guys, but some other free handling guys. And he got bit.
And the argument, one of the other arguments I see is, even though they have all of their precautions and warnings on their videos, and look, this is probably not smart, and I would never recommend you do it, and this, that, and the other. It's not like lawmakers couldn't care less if you put the precaution out there. They see it as, well, these guys are glorifying doing this exceptionally dangerous act with animals that we have the capability of controlling through legislation. And that seems to be the fear, is that you do that leads to the big snakes not being allowed, and then to whatever else not being allowed.
I'll be honest. I think it's a really huge leap. Okay. And the other thing is that I think that anybody, again, I've been around legislation for a long time, fought a lot of it. Usually, behind the scenes, sometimes in front. These lawmakers don't make decisions based on YouTube videos, ever.
Yeah.
Never, ever, 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 ever. Okay. If Tyler Nolan got bit and died, not one lawmaker would give a shit. Not one lawmaker. Okay. And that's what people. So I think that the vitriol that comes from bashing on Tyler or bashing on Chandler, because I know MJ had Tyler on, he said the same thing. He got a lot of flack, and I just don't buy into that, because I think it's easy to pick on that type of thing. But then you'll have like, for instance, you'll have someone like Viper Keeper that the venomous community thinks is the pillar of the community. He does shit that's even stupider than those guys, right? And they think everyone thinks. I've seen that guy almost get bit 20 times by doing things, like. And I'm not bashing on Viper Keeper because I don't know him and I care less what he does either. That's not my business. He does whatever.
Exactly.
But how does the same community appreciate this guy but then bash that guy? And that's where I have the problem, right? Is that people are bashing Tyler or Chandler that don't really understand why they're bashing them. I think that if someone wanted to make the argument of like, hey, I don't want my kid to look up to someone that's doing that, I can understand that argument. That's a reasonable argument. Anyone that thinks that legislation is going to be passed because of them just doesn't know how legislation works. Just doesn't understand the lawmaker. I've talked to senators. I've talked to congressmen. I've talked to local and federal government, and they could care less. They don't even. I mean, obviously, we're a pretty decent sized channel on YouTube, and not one of these people have ever even heard my name before. You know what I mean? Not one person. I've never been on the phone with or an email chain or anything with not even one public official that has ever been like, oh yeah, you're that guy from YouTube, or even you're that guy from Discovery Channel. Even they don't care about that. They don't care about that. That's not what they're doing. It's
entertainment. It's no different than, they don't make policy based on what the Kardashians do on their TV show. Who cares?
No, and that's exactly it. But I think that this is the problem, honestly, with the reptile community, and it's other communities too. So I'm not going to just, target the reptile community. But we like to tear down our own people. Now again, you don't have to agree with what I do. You don't have to agree with what Tyler does. You don't have to agree with what Chandler does. That doesn't mean you have to hate on them, and it certainly doesn't mean that you should hate on you for having them on, because that's even worse. And I think that's the problem. Just worry about yourself, man. And if you have kids and you don't want your kids watching Tyler and Chandler because what they do, then be a parent and don't let them do it. But don't take that ability away from other people. You know what I mean? Steve Irwin was a hero of mine, and Steve Irwin free-handled reptiles, but yet all the people that bitch about Tyler and Chandler didn't have a problem with Steve. So why is that?
Or Jeff Corwin.
Or Jeff Carter, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I just think it's a shame that, I mean, I don't know Tyler super well, but I know him relatively. We talk quite a bit, and I love the guy. I mean, I think he's a great guy. Chandler, I don't know as well. We do communicate back and forth. He seems like a pretty crazy dude. But I like
Florida in general.
Yeah, he's a Florida man. He's a Florida man. But I'm entertained by both their content. I really do.
Yeah.
I watch. I don't watch a lot of reptile stuff on YouTube, to be totally honest with you. But I do watch them from time to time because they're pretty damn entertaining. And Will Nace is another guy that does some free handling that I like. And Will doesn't get as much abuse as Tyler and Chandler, but yet he does very similar stuff.
Yeah.
Just maybe not as much over top. And I love Will. I think Will is one of the greatest, nicest dudes I've ever met. I can't talk more highly about Will because he's an amazing dude. But I think it's like
he's another one. He's another one we need to get on for sure.
You should, because he's a sweetheart. He's a great dude. I mean, I love it, and just so knowledgeable. I mean, I will say,
he's like 9 feet tall too, isn't he?
Huge dude. He's a huge dude, man, and I love him. But I will say this, and this is absolutely no bash on Tyler or Chandler. Will is very much has 10 times the knowledge of either of those guys. You know what I mean? He's very, very smart dude. And he knows his shit when it comes to not just venomous, but all animals. He's very, very good with animals. And that's not a bad on Tyler or Chandler, because I think they're both very good at their trade as well. I just think that Will is pretty exceptional person. But he free handles stuff, and no one seems to really care about that. And that's why I think the hypocrisy. But I just think as a community, you don't necessarily have to agree with what people do. But to be so vitriolic about it, I just don't think helps. We're all in the same boat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, if people do believe that could potentially cause legislation, I understand their concern. I'm just here to tell them it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. Like I said, Tyler got bit by a king cobra. Did that pass any legislation? Not one piece of legislation was passed, and not only did he get bit, but then put a video out later on about it that got like 3 million views.
Yeah.
That was a popular video. It wasn't like no one knew that happened. He got bit and almost died, lost a finger, and not one legislator passed a law. Here in Michigan, someone last summer got bit by a cobra, Indian cobra. I didn't know the guy, but he got bit, and it was like the first time in forever someone got bit by a venomous snake here in Michigan. There wasn't one law that was passed after that. Not one law. No one even talked about passing a law after it.
Yeah. Got another super chat here. I've seen this question a couple times. So High Class Python said Corey Woods was on the Mutation Creation podcast 2 weeks ago, I think it was, with Billy. And he said that the red axanthic that he does, that he made in 2001 originally, is the same as the Lori. What are your thoughts on that?
It's just not true. It's just absolutely not true. 100% not true. Look at a red axanthic, which is the super, and then look at a super Lori and tell me it's the same animal. It's not.
Are they all part of that same black pastel complex?
It's not black pastel for sure. Okay. But I would liken it to the difference of like Mojave and lesser, right? No one's ever going to say a Mojave's a lesser, but yet they are in the same complex, right? So the red axanthic and the Lori ball is definitely in the same complex, but they're, and listen, Corey's always got that type of a thing, you know what I mean? Like that's just Corey's. He's a pretty arrogant guy, but anyone that looked at a Lori ball, looked at a super Lori ball, would never say it's a red axanthic or a het red axanthic. Impossible. Isn't going to happen. Same complex, absolutely. I don't know anyone that's bred a red axanthic to a Lori. I don't know what the outcome of that is. I would assume there'd be a super version. I would assume much like when you breed a Mojave and a lesser, you get a blue-eyed leucistic. It doesn't look quite the same as a lesser to lesser or Mojave to Mojave. But to say it's the same is just asinine. It's just stupid. And I'm not. Listen, I am not one of those guys that like thinks banana and corals are different, sugars and calicos are different, butters and lessers are different. I'm a guy that is a lumper, not a separator. So
yeah, I kind of agree too. And for the ease of us newcomers understanding all of this, like I would appreciate if half of these genes didn't have duplicate names.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if I thought the red axanthic and the lori ball was the same, I would say absolutely. Let's just call them het red axanthics because you had them before me or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But it's like then that would mean that Ralph Davis would have to went to the Southern and said, all right, let's just call the Lesters and Mojaves the same.
Yeah.
It would be the exact same thing. And it just sucks that Corey would even say something like that because all he's trying to do is get people to like his het red axanthics more than they do. You know what I mean? The truth is that I like het red axanthics, but they're the supers aren't that interesting. The supers aren't blue and white. And I mean that's just they're just not. And they're neat animals, but they've already been taken down the path. We've seen what they can do, and what they can do is interesting, but the lore stuff is way more interesting. That's just the bottom line. And you got to remember, I don't give a shit about money anymore. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. If I never make a dime on reptiles again, I'm okay. I'm fine. So I'm not pitching something out of like, oh, well, Brian's just trying to make more money on the Lori project. That's just not the truth. I don't care. I don't.
You just said you kept them all anyway.
Yeah, I don't care. I literally, the last time I took a paycheck from BHB, 5 years ago. 5 years ago was the last time I took a paycheck from BHB. Me or Lori, either one of us. Okay, so I don't care about the money side. I'm telling the truth,
Yeah.
And I think that Corey, unfortunately, was just trying to pitch his animal. And I think that if he held a Lori in his hand, there's no way in the world he would say it's the same animal as the het red axanthic. And I have het red axanthics in my collection. And I have Loris in my collection, so I can put them side by side. And I certainly have seen the supers of both, and there's no comparison.
There you go. Daniel Cross had a question I saw come through for both of us. Yeah. Says, I have a question for the both of you. What is your favorite animal that you own and why? Can I take a guess?
You take a guess. Yeah.
I'll guess the top three because I don't know what order you would rank them.
Yeah.
Drogo, Perdita, and Bella.
Well, it's not far off. I always tell people this is how I answer that question. By the way, I always say, ask a mother of three who her favorite kid is.
Come on, you've got kids, Brian. Every parent has a favorite. We all know. We all know it's your daughter. No.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah. Noah's a bad seed. No. No. Bella. So this is what I always tell people. Dead serious. I can't ever pick a favorite, but I do agree with you that Bella is probably the most special animal I own for me personally. And I'll give you an example. Today was a great example of it. I had a tour from where were they from? They were from Jacksonville, Florida. They drove up just to come to the Reptarium today and do a tour.
Wow.
And Bella was in the back of her cage. And the mom, it didn't really. She was like kind of like, wow, I can't believe these reptiles are so tame and they're so habituated. And I'm doing clickers for the rhinos, and their rhinos are going up in their cage with a clicker and all these crazy things. And then Bella, I get to Bella's cage, and she's all the way in the back, and I open the cage and go, come here, Bella, come here, baby. And she like perks up and just runs right over to me, and I can pet her. And she's just like, I can't believe a lizard comes to its name. So, and the thing is that every other person in my crew could have done the exact same thing, and she would not have come. She would not come to anyone else. She doesn't come to anyone else's name except for me. And that's special, and that's why she's so special. There's no doubt that Perdita is probably the most popular snake at the Reptarium, and I love her to death. There's no doubt about it. Elvis, to me, my water monitor is definitely in the top three because he's just so amazing. I think Salt
is like having a dog.
Yeah, he's like exactly. He's my pet dinosaur. I mean, he's just amazing.
That's what every kid wants is a pet dinosaur.
Yeah, I mean, he is a pet dinosaur, and I think Salt is right up there as well, and then Matilda
Yeah,
is
that's
probably
true.
up there too. But then I could go down. I mean, obviously Ivy. Ivy is definitely in the top three.
I was
So
gonna say
I just give you.
a bunch of people have mentioned Ivy, and some others have mentioned Lucy just because of your history with her too.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I mean, there's probably about 10 animals that I would lump into like all of them mean something, but there's probably 10 that are probably like insurmountable. And I told this story about Elvis once. I had a guy, this was pre-COVID though, came in for a tour, so about a year or so ago. And it came in. I have no idea if the guy was rich or not. I don't know. And he paid $500 for a tour. I have no idea what that means, but he had his family with him. And we brought Elvis out. We fed Elvis, and he was like, I want this lizard. And I said, it's not for sale. And he goes, how about if I gave you 20 grand for him? And I said, not for sale. He goes, how about if I gave me 100 grand? And I looked at him and I said, I promise you, you don't have enough money to buy him. And he just stopped. But would he have given me 100 grand? Maybe, I don't know. Some people would say I'm an idiot for not selling for 100 grand if he would have actually given it to me. But to be honest with you, it's like, again, it's like, would you sell your kid for 100 grand? You know, no. These animals mean more to me than money. And and almost every animal in the place I'm so emotionally attached to. It's not even funny. Because we work with them so much. I mean, and we're not just cleaning and feeding them. We are handling them. We're training them. We're countless hours of behavior with these guys, and they mean so much to me. And so I'd say I could pick the top 10, make top 10 or 12, but that would leave a whole bunch of animals even out that would probably be right on the fringe of that, you know. But beyond that, I couldn't do it. But I do agree with you, Bella's probably the one animal that I would be the most devastated if anything happened to.
Well, you could see that just even if you go back and watch the vlog from when you got her and spent the night in the same hotel room bed, and it's like the whole acquisition part of that was amazing to watch.
And did you know that it was actually kind of funny because she slept under my pillow that night, right under my head, right under my pillow. But I had a parasite at that point, and I was sick for like 10 days. And I remember getting Bella, and she gave me a lot of comfort. I'd already been sick for like 6 days when I got her, and Lori bought her for me. But I still to this day remember I was on day about 6 of drinking just water at that point. I couldn't keep anything in my stomach at all. And it was,
Wow.
I got home, we were at Chinley Park. It was Saturday night that we spent the night there. I got home Sunday night, and Lori rushed me to the hospital Monday. And they finally diagnosed me with a parasite, and the treatment was actually relatively quick. You know, once they found out what was wrong with me. But yeah, I went like 10, 11 days without food and water, and barely drinking water because I couldn't even keep that down. So I was in pretty rough shape. But Bella died. So it's kind of funny that I have that memory along with Bella.
Real quick before we move on, Jesse Longley wanted to know, said, how are Eric and Mary? They kind of just vanished. Would it be nice to hear that they're doing well?
Yeah, they're doing really well. They stopped by like 2 weeks ago, and we just chatted. And yeah, I mean, it's like, listen, I know there was some drama when that whole thing went down, and it was a bummer, obviously, the way things happened. Where it was so quick, and basically what happened in a nutshell is that Mary, I think, wanted them to get more real jobs, like more like future jobs, like, hey, we're going to have a family, we need a career, and she didn't feel like this was a career. We still love them, they're still part of the family. And I think the thing that happened was, of course, Eric and Noah were doing the podcast on their own, that now Noah does choices by himself. And I think Eric made a comment that was just, and later he ended up correcting the comment on my podcast, but at that point, the damage had been done. Just basically where he just said, I just needed to make more money or something like that. And then people really kind of vitriolically came after me saying I was a cheapskate, I wouldn't pay my employees. There was never a conversation when Eric left about paying him more money. There was never a time he came in and said, "Can you give me more money and I'll stay?" That was never an option. That wasn't a conversation. If he would have came in to me and said, "Hey, I need to get $2 or $3 more an hour," I would probably give it to him. But that wasn't an option. It just was like we're leaving and at the end. But just because they left didn't mean that we were enemies. Like I said, they stopped by a couple weeks ago. They're doing fine. They work in maintenance at a college, and that's good. Now they've got a job that they I think feel comfortable with, and that has probably good retirement and vacation and weekends and whatever the case that they were happy with, and that's okay. I mean, everyone's not going to stick around, and that's why I talked about earlier in the thing where I think the people that are with me, the vast majority of the people that are with me, they want to be with me forever. They want to be with me. They want to retire. And I will do everything I can do to pay them and give them the benefits they need to where they can support their families. And I would have done the same for Eric and Mary if it made sense, but that wasn't an option given to me.
So one question that I came up with that I thought of for the guy who seemingly has everything and seemingly has done it all, what's on your bucket list? What is something that you have really want to do that you've never done, or something that you want to be involved with, or purchase or experience or whatever?
You find it, and it's interesting you say it because you're right. I mean, I do really have everything that I could ever want, and have done everything that I could ever want in a way. But at the same time, there's this, like I said, there's this very weird symbiosis that I go through that is like this part of me is so satisfied with where I've gotten in life, and certainly we're in the most comfortable position we've ever been in, financially slash, business wise, emotionally, all these types of things, with the exception of my anxiety, of course. But then on the flip side, there's so much I still want to do, dude. I mean, it's almost like it's almost like I feel like I just started. I'm just getting started. And that goes to traveling. I've traveled so many places in the world, but there's so many places I want to travel, not only for myself, but with Lori. 'Cause Lori hasn't visited a lot of the places I've visited. So I want to take her on a lot of trips that places I've already been, and show her the things that I've seen. And then there's places that neither one of us have been that we want to go together, like Egypt and Greece,
Wow.
just to name a couple. But then business wise, there's a lot that I mean, like my initiatives this year may be the most aggressive initiatives I've ever made business wise. What I'd like to accomplish in 2021 may be the most aggressive things I've ever done as far as new businesses. That's a lot.
I don't know. It's tough to ask because I can understand from your entrepreneurial spirit, the drive, the constant, like you said, the addiction, but is there an end game? Is there a
No. There's never going to be an end game. No. I've always said, it's funny. I recently was talking with one of my financial advisors, and we do have retirement stuff. Like I have 401k and stocks and other investments for retirement, and that's really more for Lori than it is for me. Because I told her, not Lori, but I told one of my financial advisors that I said, you do realize I will never retire, right? Like I'm not looking for a retirement. I will never. The day I die will be the day I retire. And that's just because I found something I love so dearly. I mean, the things that I do, I love so dearly. And although I'm very busy in life, I mean, most people probably might look at my life almost as miserable because I'm constantly going and there's never time to just smell the roses. The truth is that I don't, Jay, my camera guy, always says that it's true. like I don't do anything I don't want to do. Like if there's something in my businesses that I don't want to do, I hire someone to do it. Like I just will not. I refuse to do anything I don't want to do. Like if it's something that doesn't make me happy, I get rid of it. I pawn it off, I distribute it, or I cut it out of my life. So yeah, there's no end game. There never will be an end game, and it's not about money because although financially we're pretty decent, it's never been about money for me. I mean, I live. I mean, I literally drive a 2012 Chevy truck that has 184,000 miles on it, and it's not a nice truck. I mean, it's a beat up truck, that's what I drive every single day. And the reason I don't have a new truck is because I don't need one.
You have your guilty pleasures though. I know that you and Forrest competed on a hype beast level that none of us can ever achieve when it comes to shoes. So
yeah, you're right. But I even kind of gave that up. I went through that kind of period where I was really into shoes. I still love shoes, but I haven't bought any new shoes in probably 7, 8 months. I haven't bought a new pair of shoes in that long. I kind of, you're right. I have a few guilty pleasures. I mean, probably my guilty pleasures now, to be totally honest with you, have to do with health and well-being. So like, I have a sauna, I have a cold tub. I have a lot of like health gadgets, things that make me feel better emotionally, mentally, physically. I spend money on trainers at gyms and things that health wise are very important to me. So that's really the only thing I spend money on right now, to be honest with you, is uh, when it comes to myself, anyways, it's things that are going to make me either physically or mentally healthier. Um, I really don't spend money on any, personal things at all anymore at all because it just doesn't matter to me. And so money never motivated me. It never has and never will motivate me. I always tell people that, money uh, is about freedom. That's really all it is for me, right? When you have money, you have freedom. You have the freedom to do whatever you want. You have freedom to go to dinner if you want, which we can't do here in Michigan. Uh, but in most states, you can go to dinner. And if you do want to go to Egypt or you want to go to Greece when this, bullshit COVID is all over, I can do it. If I decide I want to do something, I don't have to go like, oh, well, I just need to save up for that. I could just do whatever I want to do. That's the only thing that money is for me. It's not for, I don't, I mean, you can see I don't have any Rolexes, I don't have any rings. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If that's what gets you happiness, then good. But to me, it doesn't matter.
There's a morning radio show, talk show host I listen to from back home. I have since I was in high school. And he always says, and he is the materialistic guy like you just referred to. He has 4 Rolexes and drives a $100,000 sports car and lives in a 5,000 square foot mansion, house or whatever. But he always says money doesn't buy happiness; it buys happierness.
Happiness.
Money doesn't buy you happiness; it just makes you more of what you already. And I listen to Dave Ramsey a lot because I don't listen to music anymore. I listen to podcasts and talk radio, and I listen to Dave Ramsey a lot. And he always says, all money does is make you more of what you already were. If you were a jackass and an addict, you're going to be a jackass and an addict with a big spending account. And if you're super generous and giving in that, you're just going to do that with excess.
No, that's 100% true. As a matter of fact, I saw a great meme the other day from Jim Carrey, the actor, and it said, "I wish everyone could be rich, famous, and do everything they want to do, so they can realize that's not the answer." And it's really true. I mean, and I'm obviously living proof in the sense that it's not. Listen, I'm not rich. I mean, we do good. I mean, we got. We're we're probably better than most people. Let's just put it that way. But it's not like I'm FU rich where I could do anything. I can't buy a $100 million yacht. You know what I mean? I can't do that. But my lifestyle, I'm very very well off. I mean, the way I live, I could live like this. I could never make a dime the rest of my life, and I could survive the way I survive now. And be happy and not have to worry. But look at with all of that, and I have a great wife, I have a great son and daughter. I have a great business. I have, not only a great business, but a business that I love, like all these animals and all these things. And yet I went through, essentially 8 months of complete hell,
Yeah.
mentally. And that the money didn't help, and all those relationships didn't help. And that's the reality of it. It's like, it's okay I always tell people to not be embarrassed to make money on the things that you love, right? If you're doing something you love and you make money, that shouldn't make you feel embarrassed. As a matter of fact, you should be, that's a blessing, man. That's the dream, not just the American dream, but the world dream, to do what you love and become wealthy doing it. Um, but that being said, I've been very, very broke to the point where I've almost lost everything in my life. I mean, like literally almost lost everything. Um, and now I've been on the other side of the fence where things are pretty good. And I can honestly tell you that your happiness has nothing to do with that at all.
Probably one of the most saddening examples of that I've ever seen was after Notch sold Minecraft to Microsoft for $3 billion. He went from nothing to one of the richest people in the country overnight, bought a $120 million mansion in Beverly Hills with an entire wall of candy. And he tweeted out like 4 months later, he had never been lonelier in his entire life.
No, it's true. I mean,
and that guy literally wanted for nothing except companionship.
Yeah, I think it's people, have to understand that, my dad used to say this, wherever you go, there you are, right?
Yep.
And it's you can't buy demons away. You can't uh it's a very difficult thing. And don't get me wrong, though, would I rather be anxious and poor or anxious and wealthy? I'd rather be anxious and wealthy because it takes a little bit off your plate. But
Yeah.
but that being said, I'd rather be poor and happy, than anxious and rich. And I don't think that those two things are synonymous either. I just think that, some people, whether it's depression or anxiety or whatever, bipolar or schizophrenia or whatever you have, those are things that you carry with in your life, and happiness is something that is more important than everything. And that's something that I've really learned this last 8 or 10 months, is trying to find happiness on a level that I've never found in my life before. And a lot of that happiness comes from self-love and self-confidence. Most people don't realize this, but that's one thing I struggle with probably more than anything is self-love and self-confidence. That's why I think it's highly uh, entertaining when people say they think I'm arrogant, because I'm like, if anyone knows me at any level, I'm the last thing from arrogant, because my confidence in myself is so low. It's not even funny, but I'm working on that. Not only working on my self confidence, but I'm also working on my self love. Because I can tell you what, just with being raised the way I was, and the trauma I went through as a child, uh, there was no love for myself at all, at all, period. Until recently, I've started trying to love myself. I'm not there yet by any stretch, but I'm closer than I used to be, and that's my goal, because I think that that's like, one of the things that I loved about like Brian Cusco, is that he's so confident, he's so like kind of happy, and seems to love himself in a good way. And that's more powerful than any success or any achievements that you possibly can make. And I find myself maybe in my life spending more time trying to help other people's happiness and not worrying as much about my own. And maybe that's my way of trying to deal with my issues, my pathology. Um, but I'm trying to slightly turn that around. Doesn't mean I don't want to still make people happy, because I certainly do. I take great pride in it. Um, I want to inspire people. I want to make people happy. I want to do all those things. But I also want there to be a piece of me that's happy, and everything too. Because I've always been a positive type person. Even when I'm not happy, I'm still looking at the positive and life. So I always tell people, like, even in the depths of anxiety, when you saw me talking on the vlog about positivity, it wasn't a lie. It was true. I still
Yeah.
felt that way. I was just very miserable in my head, in suffering situationally, not in the long run. Still, even when I was in the worst days of what happened to me in the last year, I still look forward to knowing that there would be another side to it, and that the other side would be amazing, and that I would feel worthy again. And so it's but I think that I always say I want to, my true hero was Steve Jobs, right? Because
Yeah.
Steve Jobs ran one of the most successful companies in the world at that time, and yet he had complete inner peace. And that is really what I search for. I want to achieve great things. I want to achieve more than I have. I want to look back on 2020 and 2021 and think I just got started. In 2030, I want to look back and say, wow, I thought I had arrived in 2021 and I was nowhere near where I thought I could be. I want all those things. But in the meantime, I want to be happy. I want to have inner peace. I want to feel that Zen feeling. And that's what I'm going for more than anything in life now. And I think you can have both. I really do. I don't think that, I think the people that think that you have to have one or the other don't understand that you can have both. You can be successful, you can be driven, you can be motivated, you can be inspirational, and you can also have inner peace. You can also have inner love. Um, and that's what my goal. That's what I'm searching for more than anything right now. Is that more than anything else? I mean, more than any success on any level, I want that inner peace, that inner love and self worth, and and then I want to be able to inspire other people to find it. That to me is probably my biggest mission statement going forward. Of course, I have a lot of other aspirations, but I really want. I think it's just important for me to down this path that I went down this last year is to let other people know that you can still achieve great things even when you're struggling, and that to not give up. And I wanted people to go like, wow, if that guy was that, Jason, I'm telling you, if there was a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst you could be, I was a 10 all the time, 7 days a
Yeah.
week. I was a 10. Um, and yet I still got out of bed every single day. And I went to work every single day and I vlogged every single day and I ran multiple businesses every single day. And I had great people around me to help me. Don't get me wrong, I didn't do it alone. Um, but I never slept in one day. I never felt sorry for myself and wallowed in self pity. And the reason I wanted people to understand that is that maybe it could inspire someone else to get out of bed. That
Yeah.
person that was struggling and saying, I can't do it. Maybe they look and say, Brian did it, I can do it too. And that's the journey of mental health is just doing it, getting to
Well, and
a point.
it's sorry, and it's one thing that's been tough for me to acknowledge, I guess is the best way to put it. When it comes to other people in my circle, people around me, and that, like watching your stuff and that dealing with anxiety, depression, mental health issue, and that I always tell people I'm incapable of being anxious or depressed because I'm too hard headed for that shit. And so, and I do believe to a point that that's true. I am just too stubborn to let something control my existence like that. And so, and my wife tells me that half the time I'm cold, I guess. I'm
Right.
stoned to some of this stuff. I push the stuff down. I'm like, I got work to do. I don't have time to dwell on this. And, and we had some personal trauma in our family, and it's something that I was not able to do anything about. There was nothing I could do to solve the problem in the moment. And I remember sitting on the front steps of our old house, and I called my dad, because my dad and I am a absolute carbon copy of my dad in that regard, actually in most ways. And I called him. I said, Dad, I don't know what to do here. Like I can't fix this. And he said, I know you're right. You can't. You just need to be there. You just need to let them tell you what they need, be supportive, be there for what they need. Stop trying to fix it. You can't do that. And that's the way my brain works. I'm a doer. I set aside my emotions, I solve the problem, I move forward. And so it's been a long time coming for me and a journey for me to learn how to work with, accept, acknowledge, and support people in my circle that are dealing with legitimate issues, demons otherwise, that I don't understand because I can't let myself get there. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, it's so what it is, Lori's the same way. She can't understand anxiety or depression because she's just not wired that way. And it's really not about being pig-headed or being, strong-minded, because it has nothing to do with that, to be honest with you. It's just that
of course not.
you just don't have it. I always say that the worst thing you can tell someone that's depressed is to just be happy, and the worst thing you can tell someone that's anxious is to stop worrying. Because
cheer up.
Be like,
exactly.
Is that it? Oh, okay, we're good then. Thank you so much. I would do anything to give away this anxiety, and quite frankly, I tell people this all the time. This is only, I dealt with this once other time about 18 years ago. And it took me about a year. I'm coming up on a year in a couple months here, and I'm getting much, much better. I think that, by the time that year hits, I'll be pretty much 99.9% myself again. Last time it took a year as well for me to get better, a little bit more than a year. So I've only dealt with anxiety twice in my life on this level. I dealt with little minor anxiety here or there, like if I'm getting on a plane, maybe I'm like, oh, I'm a little anxious about getting on a plane, but it never like stopped me from doing anything or never like changed my thought process or the pain. And I talk about the pain of anxiety or the pain of depression. I've never been depressed, but the pain I'm sure is the same. And it's hard to really explain that unless you've actually felt it, right? And so, anyways, my point is that prior to 18 years ago, I couldn't understand people killing themselves, right? I was like, I don't get it. Like, why the hell would you ever kill yourself? This life is so great. And then I went through my anxiety disorder 18 years ago that took a year of my life, and then all of a sudden I realized something really quick, and it made me a better person. I think it gave me empathy to those people, and what it did is it made me realize that people don't want to die, they just don't want to live with the pain, right? And the pain is the pain is so bad that you literally wake up. Trust me, I'm not telling you. I'm being honest with you right now, Jason, and everyone that's listening. For the 7 or 8 months that I was really bad last year, probably 90% of the time I wished I would be dead, right? Now I wouldn't kill myself because I love life and I was a positive guy and I knew it was going to get better eventually, and I believe that 100%. That didn't mean that the feeling wasn't there 90% of the time. That if I didn't have the strength to make it through that day, I would have killed myself. 100%. 100%. And I think most people, not most people, but there's a big percentage of people that wouldn't have made it through with the feelings I had. But I again, the positivity I still had, the fact that I had a great support staff or crew around me with my family and my friends and my staff. That those were the days that sometimes it was a matter of getting through minute by minute or hour by hour. But I think that it's a good thing to sometimes have a feel of that so that you can be empathetic to people's plight. And it was something I wasn't empathetic to prior to 18 years ago. And then afterwards, I was always very empathetic to people, never thinking I would visit that again. I thought I was done for the rest of my life. And then it came back last March, and a lot of it came back because of the virus and because of the repression of being shut down and the lack. The one thing you remember about people with anxiety is that most of them have issues with control, right? We always want to be in control of everything. And there was no control of the virus. There was no control of the pandemic and what was going to happen in the future. It was so scary that it threw me into a loop that I couldn't get out of, and it's been a long journey to get there, but we're close, and most days I feel really good. Some days I don't feel as good as others, but most days I feel really good. And we'll get there, and I want to inspire other people. But I want to inspire people to do everything. I want to inspire people to do good in business. I want to inspire people to love reptiles. I want to inspire people to understand mental health and to realize you should get over it. And to me, to go through all of that pain and not share it and not inspire would be a waste. It'd be a complete waste. And, why would I have gone through all that pain to not make something good out of it? And so that's the way I'm going to keep looking at life, and hopefully there'll be a day here relatively soon that I can look back and say it's completely behind me. And this time I will say, again, it was 18 years since my last bout, but this time I have a lot more tools that I think I'll use the rest of my life. And I really do believe that when I'm finally done and everything is behind me, I don't think I'll ever go back again the rest of my life. I really believe that.
All right. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know it's late on your side of the planet. I do have two more quick questions for you. Yeah. This one's been sitting here for a bit, and I want to make sure that they get a chance to hear their answer if they're still here. Bobby Tyler said, question for both. I'm a new breeder. I do my research, but I feel that not having a mentor has slowed my ability to breed successfully. Any advice or resources for those of us doing this mentorless? It's tough because I don't have a mentor either. I never had that guy down the street, or, like you or a Jay at Prehistoric that I could go hang out with on the weekends and clean tubs and learn from and that kind of thing. I honestly believe that this kind of stuff, albeit we haven't talked much about snakes at all, but Billy's podcast, mine, Brian Cusco's, there's so much. 2020, if nothing else good came out of 2020 other than my daughter, it brought out a lot of content. It brought a podcast for a lot of people. It brought a lot more videos and all kinds of stuff. And so there's a lot of resource. And I guess I'll defer to you a little bit as someone who I'm sure has mentored a number of people, but also from the perspective of weeding through so much of the bullshit that you see online and on videos and whatnot to know what is actually legitimate, good quality, helpful information.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Number one, I always suggest people, if you can find a mentor, do it because it will help you tremendously. And like you said, that's why I'm always happy to mentor other people, because I was fortunate to have some mentors growing up like Mark Bell and Bill Brand and the list goes on and on with people that really helped me through the, Don Hamper, guys that were really OGs. But if you can't, there's a lot of, like you said, nowadays there's so much content out there. What you have to do, I think, is just like you said, there's a lot of BS out there. I think that, you find the people that appear to be successful, the right way, not the wrong way. And what I mean by that is, if you're successful by tearing people down and talking bad behind their backs, then you don't want to be part of that type of mentorship. You want to find positive people that are putting out positive content, that are willing to help you, not for any other reason than to help you, nothing to gain, right? I remember when I talked with Miguel from Always Evolving Pythons at the very first time, and we got talking and this and that, and he was just getting going, and he wanted to just have some advice and this and that, and the one thing I told him is, I said, all right, well, this is going to be the deal. I'm going to help you any way I possibly can. I will answer any question I can. I will be honest with you. I said, but I will never ever let you buy a snake from me. I said, because as soon as you buy a snake from me, I have an agenda, right? I'm trying to sell you something. And I said, the only way that you'll believe every single word I say is if I'm ever looking for anything from you, So that's the one thing you have to keep in mind too. If someone's trying to guide you, but also they're trying to guide you by selling you a bunch of animals, are they really in your best interest? I mean, they're probably thinking their best interest. Like, let's say, someone says, hey, hey, so and so, I really wanted to learn what I should invest in because I've got $10,000 and I want to make the good thing. And then all of a sudden they say, oh, by the way, I have these $10,000 worth of snakes here. Are they really caring about what you're doing, or are they caring about selling the $10,000 of snakes to you? So, and I'm not saying that you can't mentor someone and also sell them animals. That's certainly something you can do. It happened with me with again, Mark Bell and the people I talked about earlier. I spent lots of money with them, but at the same time, just remember that you got to find a mentor that's not out for them, but they're out for you, even if it's online. And it's something that, but there's so much great content out there now that can see. I mean, gosh, I wish I had the resources that are out there now. And there's so
Oh,
many
no
great
doubt.
people out there. I mean, from like, obviously, you and Billy and Justin Capelica and Ozzy Boyds and Mark Mandick. And I mean, the list just goes on and on. Great people that are willing to share. And really, I think um, the people I just mentioned, yourself included, I think have the idea of if you grow the hobby, you grow your business, right? So
Absolutely.
it should be hobby first, business second. And that's why, in all the years that I've been online, I hardly ever shout out. I will occasionally, but it's very, very rare. Hardly ever shout out BHB to go buy the BHB. Hardly ever. I mean, it's like once in a blue moon, I might mention BHB Reptiles as a source to buy an animal. I just
Or the
don't
Black
get.
Friday sale.
Yeah, Black Friday sale. Every year I'll do the Black Friday sale. Every year I'm going to do that. But
Yep.
outside of the Black Friday sale, I think maybe once or twice a year I might say something about BHB, and that's it. And that's because I'm trying to grow the hobby because I know BHB will benefit if the hobby benefits.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I have one more question for you, and you have to pick one. Who do you got tomorrow?
All right. I never answer directly, right? I always answer, but I will give you an answer. I'll answer. I am one of those. I'm a non-hater. Let me just put it this way, okay? So I don't hate on anybody for anything, and I think it's the same thing that I talked about earlier. With the reptile hobby, with Tyler and Chandler, I feel the same way about Tom Brady. I think that we are lucky enough to witness a guy that 100 years from now they'll be talking about as maybe the greatest of all time. So my heart is I want Tom Brady to win because I think that a 43-year-old guy that has been to the Super Bowl 10 times
out of 55.
I mean, that is ridiculous. I would love to see Tom Brady win. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win because Mahomes and that team is too damn good. So if I were gonna bet, I would bet Kansas City, but my heart wants Tampa Bay.
I'm a lifelong Pats fan, so this one's a little bit harder for me to watch. Because Kansas City is the reason that the Patriots weren't there last year. And I have a little bit of bitterness towards Tom Brady because I feel like when you spend that kind of time, people transfer teams and that all the time, but there are those people, every one of us can name them, that spend their entire career with a team. Brady spent 17 years in New England and put 6 Super Bowls in their pocket and whatnot. And I just feel like at that point you retire with them and let it go. But I saw a meme the other day. Some guy that's like not into football at all. He posted. He said, "So this guy Tom Brady literally walked down to Tampa Bay, said, 'Hey, you guys want to go to a Super Bowl?' and then did it."
Yeah.
And there's no questioning the dude's talent. And so I think it's gonna be a great game either way. But I have a hard time picking.
It is hard. And the one thing I will say, and I agree because, we've had that happen here in Detroit many times, right? Where we have, guys that are with us and then leave at the last minute and go either win a championship with a basketball team or.
Well, now Stafford's gone too.
Exactly. Yeah. Stafford's gone. But I think Stafford is similar to Brady, where I think Brady would have stayed in New England if they would have given him the money. I think New England wanted him gone. I think they were done with him. I think it was. I don't. Yeah, none of us really know, but we definitely know that New England seemed to be ready to move on, and Tom wasn't. And Tom wanted. He was like, "Hey, I can play for another 3 years," and I think New England was kind of like, "No, you can't. You're too old. You're done." And now he's proven at least he could play one more year. Whether he can play 2 more, I don't know. But I think I still think that I root for him because. Like I said, I don't know how anyone can hate on the guy because he is definitely going to go down as the best ever.
Yeah, and he's got a number. He's got a number of records that either likely will never be or literally cannot be broken. And one of the cool things that would be is like a capstone to his career would be the first quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl in his home stadium.
Yeah,
you know, and that's gonna be crazy. Yeah,
it would be wild. I mean, and like I said, but I do think Mahomes and Kansas City are too good.
The kid's talented, man.
I think it's going to be really difficult for that team to lose. I think it's a great. I mean, I think that if I was Roger Goodell in the NFL, I'd be licking my chops. You could not have picked a better situation. I mean, you have the greatest of all time, and someone that looks like he might be one of the greatest of all times, the young gun, and you're going head to head. You got two talented, teams. The only thing I can to say is could Tampa Bay throw like a defense at Kansas City that they aren't ready? I don't think so, because I think Mahomes has just gotten so good that he reads everything. But the defense, I don't think Tom Brady's winning the Super Bowl. I think the defense, if Tampa Bay wins, it's the defense, it's not the offense. And and that's, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's nevertheless, you know where I'm going to be? I'm going to be at the Reptiles working with animals.
Working, yeah, of course.
I'll be working, but I will have a TV on in our party room, and I'll take the occasional look at I was surprised we sold out, at the Reptarium
for tomorrow.
I thought for sure. I thought we were going to go home at 6 o'clock. I thought, no one's going to come to the Reptarium. And like 7-8 days ago, we sold out every slot. So I was like, I guess I'm working till nighttime. I guess I'm not watching the Super Bowl. So, but I'll keep it on a little bit, and I'll have it in the distance. But I still think it's going to be a good one regardless. I wish I could watch it.
All right, we got one last statement. This guy wanted to say, Thomas Miller said, "Hey, Jason, if possible, would you tell Brian for me that I thank him for being so honest and for all of the wisdom he has shared. He has helped me more than he'll ever know, and he is a hero."
Well, Thomas, thank you so much, dude. I mean, it's again, you inspire me. People like you inspire me to not only work harder, but to be a better person. And I appreciate you so much. So thank you so much for that.
And on that note, man, I really appreciate all your time. We went longer than I agreed to.
No, we had a good time, brother, man. I appreciate you, and like I said, I no problem at all. I'm so thankful you even had me on, dude.
Yeah, no, it's an honor indeed. And I mean, everybody, I've told the story a number of times. I mean, I was blown away that you even stopped by here on your trip. So it's
we had a great time. We still talk about it all the time. How much fun we had when we stopped over.
I'll send you some more jerky for sure. I'll make sure.
We always we'll take it, but don't go out of your way, man.
I got a new recipe I just did that I really liked, so I'll have to do it again. I'll send you some. But
sounds good, brother.
We'll definitely have you back on again on a different day when I know it's not so hectic in that. Because I know there's a lot of people here that enjoy hearing your story, and I want to get into a little bit more of the history of the actual hobby, because I know you've got a lot in that regard. So we'll definitely get you back.
Yeah, let's get back on and we'll talk snakes next time, man. We'll talk
absolutely
snakes and talk all the other bullshit, all right?
Yeah, that's right. All right, man. I really appreciate your time. I'm going to put you aside for just a minute and sign off with these guys, and then we'll head out.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Well, there you go, guys. I mean, who better than the man himself? So it's an honor indeed, and I really appreciate having him on. We're definitely going to have him back because I do want to get into the history. I think that's one of the exciting parts of this, is what it took to get to where we are today, because young guns like me have no clue what any of this was. So that's going to do it for this week. I want to let you guys know now, I probably should have done at the top, but I forgot. This is the last Saturday night live stream. Schedules have changed with work and home life and that. So moving forward, starting this coming week, so right away, we're doing Tuesday nights, same time. So 7 p.m. Mountain, but we're moving to Tuesdays, and it'll be Tuesdays from here on out, at least for the rest of the year. So next week, this coming up Tuesday, is Will Morose from Royal Canadian Reptiles. So I'm really excited to have Will on and talk some crazy multi-recessive combos. So make sure you're here for that. I appreciate all you guys stopping by in the super chats, and I'll see you guys next week. See ya.